Hi everybody. Today we are going to discuss about development of dentition and occlusion. Under this topic, we are going to study about eruption of teeth, the definition, the stages of eruption, that is pre-emergent eruption, post-emergent eruption, and theories of eruption. Eruption of teeth is defined as the movement of the tooth from its site of origin to its occlusal position. The stages are pre-emergent eruption. This stage consists of movement of tooth from the site of origin till it pierces the gingiva. Firstly, the resorption of the bone and the overlying roots of primary tooth. Secondly, the erupting tooth has to be guided into the path created by resorption of bone. So, in this, we have to know what is primary eruption failure syndrome. It is resorption that takes place, but the erupting tooth does not follow the path that has been created. When it comes to post-emergent phase, it consists of three stages. That is, number one is post-emergent spurt. There is a rapid tooth movement in this phase after the tooth penetrates the gingiva till it reaches the occlusal level. Next is juvenile occlusal equilibrium. It is a slow process. When the mandible grows vertically, it moves from the maxilla, creating space into which the teeth grow. If the tooth is enclosed, then juvenile occlusal equilibrium is not achieved. Number 3 is the adult occlusal equilibrium. It is the third stage. This is the final phase of tooth eruption. It occurs after the pubertal growth spurt ends. Tooth continues to erupt when its antagonist is lost and also because of occlusal wear. Theories of eruption. Cross-linking of maturational fibers of periodontal ligament provides the force for eruption. This seems to be the contemporary view. The other theories of eruption are the pulp theory, the root elongation theory, the genetic theory, hammock ligament theory, vascular theory, periodontal ligament theory, alveolar bone growth theory, then follicular theory. Here we are going to discuss about few of the theories which are of importance to us. The vascular theory or blood pressure theory. According to this theory, the tissue around the developing end of the root is highly vascular. This vascular pressure is believed to cause the axial movement of the teeth. Root growth or root elongation theory, that apical growth of root results in an axially directed force that brings about the eruption of the teeth. Hammock ligament theory, given by Sisha. He says a band of fibrous tissue exists below the root apex, spanning from one side of the alveolar wall to the other. This fibrous tissue form a network below the developing root and is rich in fluid droplets. The developing root forces itself against this band of tissue, which in turn applies an occlusally directed force to the tooth. Next is the periodontal ligament traction theory. This theory states that the periodontal ligament is rich in fibroblasts that contain contractile tissue. The contraction of these periodontal fibers, mainly oblique fibers, results in axial movement of the tooth. Now we will study about different stages of tooth development. The Nolla has divided the development of tooth into 10 stages. Stage 0 is absence of crypt. Stage 1 is presence of crypt. Stage 2 is initial calcification. Stage 3 is 1/3 of a crown is completed. Stage 4 is 2/3 of the crown is completed. Stage 5 is crown almost completed. Stage 6 is crown completed. Stage 7 is 1/3 of root is completed. Stage 8 is 2/3 of root is completed. Stage 9, the root almost completed, open apex. Stage 10 is apical end of the root is completed. Definition of occlusion. Here we are going to see the occlusion at different stages of life. First is occlusion from birth to 12 years. First, we will define what is occlusion. Occlusion is defined as the changing interrelationship of the opposing surfaces of the maxillary and mandibular teeth, which occurs during movements of the mandible and terminal full contact of the maxillary and mandibular dental arches. The stages of occlusal development can be divided into predental, deciduous, mixed dentition and permanent dentition. The predental jaw relationship, that is 0 to 6 months. The face and jaws. What happens to the face and jaws? They are positioned distally when compared to adults. With the initiation of function, the face and jaws grow forward, downward and laterally. The gum pads, maxillary and mandibular. The maxillary gum pads develop in two parts, namely labiobuccal and lingual. The labiobuccal grows fast and is divided into 10 segments by the transverse grooves, which correspond to the deciduous tooth sac. The grooves between the canine and the deciduous molar is called the lateral sulcus. The labiobuccal and lingual are demarcated by the dental groove. It passes from incisive papilla, runs laterally and joins with the gingival groove at the lateral sulcus area. From there, it runs distally and buccally to first molar crypt. Gingival groove demarcates the palate from the gum pads. Mandibular gum pads are everted in anterior region. They are divided into 10 segments by transverse grooves. Unlike maxillary, mandibular gum pads are less defined. Vertically, a gap between the upper and lower gum pads exists in the anterior region and the tongue is interposed between the lips. Transversely, the gum pads grow rapidly during the first year of life and its maximum in transverse dimension. Maxillary gum pads are wider than mandibular and there is total overlapping of maxillary gum pads both anteriorly and posteriorly. And anteroposteriorly, the length of gum pads increased posteriorly to accommodate the deciduous first and second molars. The lower lateral sulcus is distal to the upper lateral sulcus. Now we will see the deciduous dentition, that is 6 months to 6 years. Here we are going to study about the sequence of eruption, chronology of eruption and features of deciduous dentition. That is, the features of deciduous dentition is spaced or open dentition, closed dentition, deep white, overjet, terminal plane relationship. The sequence of eruption. The central incisors are the first to erupt, then lateral incisors, then first molars, canine, and second molar. The chronology of eruption is the lower central incisors are erupted at the 7th month, the upper central incisors are erupted at the 9th month, upper and lower lateral incisors at 11 months, first molars at 15th month, canine at the 18th month and the second molars at 26 months. A delay in eruption by 4 to 10 months is considered normal. We are speaking about the deciduous dentition. The features of deciduous dentition are spaced dentition or open dentition, closed dentition or non-spaced dentition, deep bite, overjet, terminal plane relationship. Spaced dentition or open dentition. The primary dentition in which the interdental spaces are present is called open dentition or spaced dentition. There are two types of spacing. First is the physiological or developmental or generalized spaces. These are present throughout the primary dentition. The reason for this developmental space is anteroposterior growth of the jaws. On an average, the primate spaces or simian spaces, the anthropoid space. These are present between lateral incisor and canine in the maxillary arch, and in mandibular arch it is present between the canine and the first molar. The closed dentition. Primary teeth without any spaces are called closed dentition. The lack of space could be either due to wider primary teeth or reduced arch length. Closed dentition invariably leads to crowding in the permanent dentition. Next is the deep bite. When the primary incisors erupt, the overbite is deep. This could be due to vertical inclination of the primary incisors. Over a period of time, this deep bite reduces due to two reasons. One is because of the eruption of primary molars. Second reason is the rapid attrition of incisors. At about 6 years of age, there may be an age-to-age relationship. Overjet in deciduous dentition. It is usually more in primary dentition. With the movement of whole dental arch anteriorly, the overjet decreases. The average overjet in primary dentition is 1 to 2 mm. The terminal plane relationships. Baum classified the relationship of the primary teeth into three categories. If it is straight, then it is called a straight or flush terminal plane, which is about 76%. You can see mesial step about 14% and distal step about 10%. Now coming down to the mixed dentition. The mixed dentition period is 6 to 12 years. In the mixed dentition stage is the period during which both primary and permanent teeth are present in the mouth. The transition of mixed dentition to permanent dentition occurs in three phases, namely the first transitional period, intertransitional period, and the second transitional period. The first transitional period is eruption of first permanent molar and replacement of primary incisors with the permanent incisors. Intertransitional period is no significant changes takes place. In the second transitional period, replacement of primary canine by permanent canines and deciduous molars by premolars. In the first transition stage, the eruption of first permanent molar and transition from mixed to permanent dentition is due to three reasons. Because of early mesial shift, late mesial shift, the differential growth of mandibular related to the maxilla. The early mesial shift of molar in patients with spaced primary dentition and flush terminal plane relationship, when the permanent mandibular first molars erupt at about 6 years, they close the primary space distal to canine. Thereby, the flush terminal plane gets converted to the mesials. This allows the permanent maxillary first molars to erupt into a class 1 molar relationship. This process is called as early mesial shift. In a closed dentition, this is not possible. The late mesial shift of molars. After the exfoliation of primary second molar, the permanent first molar moves mesially. It is more in lower molar compared to the upper because of the more amount of leeway space. The differential growth of mandible related to maxilla. Because of cephalocaudal gradient of growth, the mandible grows more than maxilla. The replacement of incisors or the incisor liability. The mesiodistal width of permanent incisors is larger than the primary incisors. The erupting permanent incisors require more space for proper alignment. This difference between the amount of space needed for the incisors and the space available for them to align is called the incisor liability. It was described by Warren Main in 1969. The incisal liability is about 7.6 mm in the maxillary arch and 6 mm in the mandibular arch. The space discrepancy is compensated by three mechanisms. Number one is intercanine width. During the eruption of permanent incisors, significant amount of increase in intercanine arch width occurs. It is about 4 mm in maxillary arch and 3 mm in mandibular arch. Interdental spacing. The spacing present in primary dentition helps in alignment of permanent incisors. It is about 3 mm in maxillary arch and 2 mm in mandibular arch. The primate space present in the upper arch mesial to primary canine is also used. The labial eruption of the incisor. The primary incisors are upright while permanent incisors which replace them are labially proclined, placing them in a wider arch. It is about 2 mm in maxillary arch and 1 mm in the mandibular arch. In the mixed dentition period, we also see something called as ugly duckling stage, also called as Broadbent's phenomenon or physiologic median diastema. It is a transient form of malocclusion wherein midline diastema is present between the maxillary central incisors. The ugly duckling stage is seen between 7 and 11 years of age. During the eruption of canine, they impinge on the roots of lateral incisors. This pressure causes the lateral incisors to erupt into the oral cavity with the divergence of crown distally. Even after the lateral incisors fully erupts, this pressure effect from the erupting canine which is persisting. This pressure is transmitted to the central incisor, which causes the crowns to diverge and the roots to converge towards the midline. This causes midline diastema, which is temporary and gets closed automatically as the canine erupts into the occlusion. This stage is called ugly duckling stage. The clinical significance of ugly duckling stage is the maxillary midline diastema up to 2 mm closes spontaneously, whereas a median diastema greater than 2 mm is unlikely to close. It is not advisable to close the median diastema during the ugly duckling stage because it might damage the apex of the lateral incisors and canine might be deflected from its normal path of eruption. Second transitional stage, it is replacement of canine and primary molars. The leeway space of Nance, the combined mesiodistal width of the deciduous canine first and second primary molars is greater than the combined mesiodistal width of the permanent canine first and second premolars. This is called the leeway space of Nance. In the maxillary arch, it is about 0.9 mm on either side, that is totally about 1.8 mm, and in mandibular arch, it is about 1.7 mm on either side, that is about totally 3.4 mm. When primary second molars are lost, the permanent first molars moves mesially and there is decrease in the arch length. This shift of molars is more in mandible than maxilla, which helps in establishing a full cusp class 1 molar relation from flush terminal plane relationship in the primary dentition. This shift is called as late mesial shift of molars. The sequence of eruption of permanent teeth in the maxillary arch is the first molar, central incisor, lateral incisor, first premolar, second premolar, canine and second molar. Whereas in mandibular arch, it is the first molar, central incisor, lateral incisor, canine, first premolar, second premolar and second molar. Transient malocclusion. The transient malocclusion are those conditions which will look like malocclusion at some particular time, but with normal growth, the condition gets corrected on its own without any treatment. The transient malocclusions seen at different stages are as follows. In the predental jaw relation stage, the transient malocclusion is the retrognathic mandible. The reason for correction is it corrects with the cephalocaudal gradient of growth and differential growth of the mandible. Then is the complete overlap of maxillary gum pad. It gets corrected by transverse growth of mandibular gum pad. Third is the anterior open bite, which gets corrected by eruption of primary incisors. Fourth is the infantile swallow with the initiation of function at about 18 months of the age gets corrected. In the primary dentition, the transient malocclusions are the deep bite gets corrected by eruption of primary molar and attrition of incisal edges. Increased overjet, which gets corrected by forward growth of mandible. The flush terminal plane is corrected by early mesial shift. The spacing closes with the eruption of permanent successors. Edge to edge incisor relation at 6 years is corrected by shedding of primary incisors and eruption of permanent incisors. And in the mixed dentition, the transient malocclusion is the deep bite, which gets corrected by physiologic bite risers at 6th, 12 years with the eruption of first and second permanent molars. The overlying gingival pad of tissue will act as bite riser. The ugly duckling stage gets corrected by eruption of maxillary canine. The lower anterior crowding increase is corrected by increase in the intercanine width. The end-on molar relation is corrected by late mesial shift. The flush terminal plane is corrected by both late mesial shift and differential jaw growth. Under the heading of development of dentition and occlusion, we studied of about eruption of teeth, then different stages of eruption of teeth, theories of eruption, and predental stage of development of teeth and jaws, deciduous dentition, and we studied about mixed dentition, and we studied about transient malocclusion and how they correct at different stages. Keep watching these videos on YouTube and please subscribe to my channel for further updates about orthodontics and orthodontic classes.